Welcome to another episode of Dear Stefan.
Dear Stefan, why do you think it's so hard for companies to be profitable?
Frivolous spending is a lot of times where entrepreneurs go to and they say, am I spending somewhere that I shouldn't be? That can definitely be part of the problem. But another one of the part of the problems, I think, is that a lot of times we have very unrealistic expectations for what profitability looks like at various sizes of company. So we are under the assumption that we should look a certain way, behave a certain way at a certain level of revenue, and if we aren't, that we're not actually successful. You really have to be willing to buck that trend, focusing more internally on what does our company need to do to become profitable without disregarding what is happening externally. I sometimes see businesses that aren't as profitable as they'd like to be, and it's usually because they haven't really thought through all of the expenses of what it costs to run a business. I found that there's about 30% of what could be classified as miscellaneous expenses that aren't necessarily miscellaneous, like frivolous spending, but they're things that you sometimes forget to account for. When you think of an office space, for example, and you think of rent, you think of the rent itself. What you don't think of, the equipment that is attached to that rent, the desks that you have, the chairs that you have, the pens and pencils and paper, the internet. Those are types of things that, while small individually, collectively, when added up across an entire organization, can start to add up pretty dramatically. A lot of those things can't be cut though. Most businesses, when they say, why am I not as profitable as I ought to be? It's usually not because they're frivolous spenders. Of course, I've seen businesses that are like that. What I found is that they have a false sense of expectation of how much they should be profiting versus what is actual reality. And I think a lot of that is attributed to just a social media day where we are looking on LinkedIn or other platforms at what we assume other people to be making, when in fact it's probably dramatically less. And Travis and I have always kind of rejected that model, and we've always built a very stable business that has focused completely on profitable growth, never growing more than we could handle, and always making sure that the growth that we're doing is something that is very balanced with how we're going to get there. And in doing that, we've been able to run a very profitable operation for 6 years without ever having to look over our shoulder and see what other businesses are doing in terms of profit. But rest assured, most businesses are probably making less money than you think they're making, even most of your competitors, and you are not alone in that. Finding that way to squeeze out an extra 10% here, and finding that way to make an extra 10% there, those are the types of things that you need to be doing to just find that incremental profit to make it a business worth running. And beyond that, you just kind of have to remember that if you are profitable, it's worth doing, and to continue at that without worrying about what other people are potentially making. Wow. That was a great question. Thank you so much for watching Dear Stefan. If you have more questions, leave them in the comments below.